Hi, my name is Maria Five. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. Before that, we've got some tea and some makes. So the tea today is a black tea with orange. And it's literally called that, black tea with orange. It's a loose tea. I've never seen it in a sachet of any kind. Of course it's black, so I put milk in, but you can smell the oranges. It does have little bits of orange in there, some orange rind in there, and the smell is completely intoxicating. Wow. And then I think I showed you this before. This is my David's tea measuring spoon, and I was never really sure how big it was, and then just for hoots I decided to see how big it was, and it's exactly the size of 1 tablespoon, exactly the same size. So that's the size that David's tea decided was right. And I've been using it for years now, and I would definitely say, yeah, it's about right. 1 tablespoon of loose tea in any kind of a diffuser, steeped. I shouldn't say always, I typically steep my tea for 5 minutes. That's just my general rule. It always says 3 to 6, so I'm not sure why I picked 5, but I've picked 5, and that's generally how it goes. So loose tea, hot water, and steep for 5 minutes. And then if it's, depending on what it is, I may add some honey, I may just add some milk, I may not add anything. If it's a herbal tea, I typically don't. So it just really depends on the kind of tea. But this particular tea is, oh my goodness, it smells good, it tastes good. It's a black tea. It does have caffeine. But it's a wee bit oily, and I don't know where that comes from, because tea is just tea. It doesn't have, I don't think it has any oils in it. Maybe a little bit with the processing, with the drying. Orange certainly doesn't. The orange rind certainly doesn't, but this particular tea is a wee bit oily. Yeah, you can taste it a little bit, but I do dearly love it. It's always just hard to find. So every time I see it, I'm like, I need to get some. Yeah, that's that. And then for the makes. So, the Midnight Feast takes place over summer solstice, over a weekend of summer solstice. And so I was making this bag here, and it's just a little clutch bag with a little bow, and you would just simply put your hand through. It'd be like the perfect little evening clutch for an evening going out. But then it was like, summer solstice, it's not really summery. So then I decided to make one that was. So we have this here. There's little magnetic closures, and this one actually even has a double, just like a double opening. The other one is just a single, but perfect. But it's perfect for the, if you were going to a summer solstice party, just slipping your hand through the bow. A little bit elegant, a little bit summery. Those are the makes. So we will get into The Midnight Feast, Lucy Foley. So I did a review of The Guest List a couple of months ago, and it's a good book. It is definitely a good read. But there was all this movement with the timelines, and I really didn't care for that. I don't think it added to the story, and I would say for me anyway, and I'm sure for other people, it actually takes away from. So for this one, A Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley, I would say the same thing. There's just too many timelines going on, and it takes away from rather than brings to, because your brain can't really sink into the story. You've got so much going on in your brain. You're kind of like, I don't know. I mean, so that was a little problematic for me. Nevertheless, it is an incredibly good read. Really a page turner, shall we say. So we have the 3 timelines, and of course they all merge into one story by the end. The earlier timeline is about, well, it's exactly actually 15 years earlier, and Sparrow and Frankie and her 2 brothers are hanging out at the manor. a very large, sprawling, I won't say castle, but very large mansion that overlooks the ocean. There is a secret little way to get down to the beach. It's all very exclusive. There's a pool. There's lots of money. And Frankie is really loaded. Very posh. Yeah, into drugs, into drinking, when, you know, that sort of thing is not typically accepted when you are that young. Sparrow doesn't come from a bad place, but she's not wealthy, but you know, her and her parents are visiting. They are, I guess, glamping. Back in the day, it wasn't called that though, but they are glamping at a campground, and that's where Sparrow and Frankie meet up at the beach. And then there's a couple of characters. There's a pub, and it's all pretty normal, it's very local. And so that's the one timeline. Nobody there has a lot of money. That's an important thing to know. Then there is the actual summer solstice, the feast. And so it's the grand opening of the manor. There has been a lot of talk, a lot of articles going up about what's going on in this manor, and this big, expensive, exclusive weekend that is for the, you know, the place to be seen. It's very expensive, very exclusive. And Frankie, now known as Francesca, has gone all out and hired all kinds of staff, all kinds of produce, all kinds of everything. And it's to be a real experience. There are cabins where people are staying in and among up to this old grove forest. And there are people staying in the actual mansion, just depending on how much money you've got to spend for that weekend. And then, of course, there's the midnight feast, the summer solstice on the Saturday evening. So Friday night, it kind of opens up. People are checking in. They're getting to know. There's a party, like a get-together on the Friday evening. And people are coming. And so they are just getting to know each other, getting to know the lay of the land, if you will. Bella, the protagonist, she's talking as she's going through this, unpacking, staying in her little suite, which is right beside the forest. There's a heavy discount, which is how she could afford to be there for the weekend. And she has a child staying with her mom, and we don't really know a whole lot about what's going on there, but she has escaped all that and has come to stay at the manor for the grand opening, the midnight feast. There is also a couple of local characters that have moved in to work at the manor. There is Eddie. Eddie is a dishwasher wanting to become a bartender and slowly working his way through. He is the one person throughout this whole story that is completely 100% consistent. He doesn't change. He is who he is. And it's, your heart just kind of goes out to him. As you're reading this. There's Owen Dacker, Francesca's husband. And he is this amazing architect, goes all over the world designing these fabulous things. So the whole manor has been designed by him, including this famous infinity pool on the property. And he is an interesting character of its own. So there are the main characters, and then there's so much money. There is lots and lots of money. Then there is the town of Tome, Tome, not B. And there is very little money there. So there's, of course, animosity between what's going on in the town, at the pub, the town of Tome, and the manor with all this money and lavishness. And of course, there isn't really a trickle-down effect. So the town doesn't really see anything. And of course, there's no well-wishing there. So that creates tension. And then there's Francesca, who is over the top, very mellow, very zen, very at peace with the world, with herself, until things start to go wrong. And then she slowly starts to lose it. As a reader, it's a bit amusing to watch her sort of disintegrate and then pretend like everything's all calm and beautiful and zen again. It's an interesting twist for her. So without giving away the ending, the book is really good. I feel like because of the way Lucy Foley structured it, the ending's a bit of a giveaway. Sadly, I don't know. That was me anyway. I mean, I had it figured out, of course, but I don't want to give too much away in case you haven't read this yet. So, if you are at all intrigued, at all interested, The Midnight Feast, Lucy Foley, it is a good read. You just have to pay attention to which timeline you're on, what's going on with it. But it's definitely a good read. I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning, page turning until it was done so I could actually go to sleep. And you might find it the same way. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you did enjoy it. And until next Saturday, we will see you. Bye-bye.